I've been doing this for over a year, and I will tell you right now, I have a goal weight, but the weight is not the goal. My name is Elisa, and this is Food Noise Be Gone. This is episode 6. Scale is not the goal. If you have any questions about your health, I am not a doctor. This is just my personal experience. Please consult with your healthcare provider. Please remember to share, like, comments. Food Noise Be Gone episodes drop every Saturday on YouTube at 9 a.m. and every Sunday on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at 9 a.m. So let's get into it. While the scale isn't the goal, it is the easiest way to measure your progress. I've thought about if I will be happy if I don't reach my goal weight. And to be honest, I am still conflicted. My goal weight, I chose a weight that I've mentioned before, about 4 pounds under the very top of the BMI chart that sits in normal. I may end up being at my actual goal and still be considered overweight. If I don't get under 154 pounds, I will still be overweight at 155 pounds. I'm a 5'6" female, and 154 pounds is the cutoff for normal BMI. But BMI is not a measure of your health. It's an indicator. It's a ratio, a calculation that perhaps we'll pull up for how to calculate your height and your weight. And the ratio of those, you get a BMI, and then they categorize that into obesity, 3, 2, 1, class obesity, overweight, normal, and underweight. When my doctor uses it, they will say, "Oh, you're going from obese class 1 to overweight. We're going to reduce your medication." So it's an indicator of your size, and that is really it. So when we think about what are our goals, they should be measurable goals, and weight is a measurable goal, but weight is just an indicator of your health, of your body fat, of your composition. It's just a directional indicator. Generally, when we think you're over a certain weight, you have too high of body fat. And when you're under a certain weight, you have too low of body fat. There is the concept of height weight proportionality. I have just reached a place where in a size 10, my pants are naturally height weight proportional and they're not too long. When I wear a size 12 and 14 and 16 and before an 18 and 20, they were almost consistently too long. I remember using dating apps before I was married, and folks would always concept on height weight proportional. And to be honest, I didn't even understand what that meant. I thought it was just a proportion for being skinny. But I've come to understand how health and visual cues of it, whether it's attractiveness, proportionality, are just a representation of what we consider healthy. What we consider beautiful often aligns with what is considered healthy or wealthy. So I will say the scale is 100% an indicator, but it is not the goal, or it should not be the goal. I myself have a really hard time at making the weight, not the goal, but I've tried to transition from it being the goal to an indicator, to a data point that I put in with all the other activity data points, the diet data points, and the scale data point. I put that into the chat GPT that I have referenced in previous videos, and I say, analyze it. And so it's but one data point. The scale doesn't know if you had a lot of salt yesterday, if you had enough potassium to balance your salt, if you just had a really hard leg day and your body is holding on to water, if your body has released the water, has it even been 24 full hours since you last weighed yourself? Your body takes time, not just sleep, but sleep and time to rebalance itself. So the scale weight is but one data point. Your diet is a data point. Your activity, your steps, a workout is a data point. Did you hit personal bests? Probably indicate there's glycogen stores in your muscle. Did you eat extra carbohydrates to support that exercise? That will be additional water stored in your muscle. Those are all things that are okay. There's nothing wrong with having electrolytes, with being not perfect with your sodium and potassium balance, with getting to bed a half hour later once in a while, or hours later once in a while. You don't want to lose sleep consistently. You don't want to have out of balance macronutrients all the time, but sometimes they make sense. Lifes. It's the zoom out on balance. Are you hitting your macros on an average basis? That's why some people say only weigh yourself once a week. I don't. I weigh myself every day because every day is a data point. I don't want to miss a low weight. If I weigh myself this time next week, I could be heavier, but then the next day or the day before, I could have a new low weight. And so I could artificially think I am in a plateau when actually I was consistently losing weight and hitting a low weight the next week. I think it can be dangerous thinking you're in a stall because you're focused entirely on weight. If your waist size has gone down, if your clothes are looser, you are not in a stall in your journey. You may be in a quote unquote weight stall, a weight measurement stall. I would say you're not even in a weight stall because weight fluctuates, but you're in a measurement stall because you maybe only are measuring at times when you're not at your lowest weight. And you can see that when you zoom out. So it might look really jagged. I'll show a picture of what it looks like when you zoom into a month. You might say, if I only weighed on those, I could actually look like I was gaining weight. But if you look at the low weights through there and you zoom out to 1 month, to 3 months, to 6 months, to your entire journey, that line goes down. That trend line goes down. It's just data. So I encourage everyone, weigh when it makes sense to you. Don't obsess over it. It's just a data point. If you can, look at all of your data. You don't need to make excuses. It's okay. We can gain weight. We can lose weight. We can slow down. We can speed up. But understanding how all the data interacts with itself, that is, I think, the ability to just logically look at it, and it will encourage consistency towards being healthier. I want to talk also about why your weight is more directional. It can be aspirational, but I think, as with most goals, it's helpful if it is grounded in what you're trying to achieve. If you get to 150 pounds, that's my goal weight, but I am in a size, let's say I didn't get beyond a size 10, which is literally where I am now at 10, 12, it would feel kind of stalled because I actually would mean I probably didn't lose body fat and I didn't achieve the look we're wanting to. Like, maybe people talk about getting toned, they mean building lean mass or building muscle as opposed to soft adipose fat tissue. So some people say wanting to be smaller is a bad thing. No, you're wanting to be smaller, you're wanting to be tighter, you're wanting to be stronger and being able to do things, to move around easier, to fit yourself into smaller spaces, perhaps, to cross your legs, to fit behind a table or a booth. Yeah, it's okay to say you want to be smaller. You wanna be in a way that feels like you can fit into society, to fit into how things are on average available. That's okay, because things are made on average for what would be considered perhaps healthy. Now, sizing, vanity sizing, is kind of increased size so you feel smaller, but that's just a mind game. Your measurements, an inch is an inch, so you either have a 30-inch waist or 40-inch waist or 50-inch waist, regardless of whether it's a size 10, 12, 14, 24. The measurement is constant. So I think setting aspirational goals that seem realistic. My goal is 150 pounds. That is at the top portion of normal. I'd like to be sub 30% body fat, between 25 and 30%. Maybe I'll get to 22%. That wouldn't be bad. Between 20 and 25 would be like very lean and something where I can't imagine myself getting to unless I got super into fitness. I think I'd look good and feel good around 27, 28% body fat. So if I get to a size 6, I'm 26, 27% body fat, and I'm as fit as I've ever been, I feel great. We might be at goal. That could be 156 pounds. So 150 was aspiration. I hope I land somewhere close to that, whether it's 146 or 156. So whether it's below or above my quote unquote goal weight, I want to achieve the look and the feeling and the health markers that are the actual goal, of which weight is just an indicator so I can measure my progress. And I have other indicators that I can have measurable progress. I've mentioned body fat. You can measure your body fat. You can get that measurement on a BIA scale or a body impedance scale. You have your home scales. Some of them are better than others. People have the body pod. They say those are like 98% accurate to a DEXA. But really, the gold standard is a DEXA scan. Takes about 5 to 15 minutes. It's a full body low radiation scan. You can get them from $40 to about $100. I go to Body Spec, not sponsored. That's just where I go. It's local. I recommend them, especially like look around your area. I have pre-bought so I can get them quarterly until I get to goal. Got a really good deal. Again, look at what's available to you in your area, but if possible, it gives you real information that I think is a higher measurable value than just gravity, which is all weight is gravity, which is a directional indicator of your progress. It's not an exact. So it'll feel really good if you can say, I am losing what weight I am losing is in fact body fat, because that's truly the aspiration, because it's closer aligned to the goals of being healthier, of looking better, because lower body fat looks better. It has better health outcomes to have lower body fat, specifically visceral fat. So the DEXA will give you more precise measurements. It's not something you do every month. You can do it every 6 months, every 3 months. I started about 5 months, 6 months in. I wish I had gotten one when I very first started the journey, or at least when I started the medication. I got it in June. I started the journey in mid-January. I started the medication in mid-February. I didn't get my first DEXA till I was in June. So that's 5, 6 months in. I did take pictures, not on day 1 of my diet, but I did take pictures about 2 weeks after I started. So pictures are a great visual marker because they tell you your size. Ideally, I would have also taken measurements when I very first started. Ideally, on my birthday, I would have gone to get a DEXA scan. I would have taken my measurements and I would have taken pictures. I didn't do any of those 3. It's okay. 2 weeks in, I took pictures. So guess what pictures are? Pictures are data. And then I started taking measurements by the summer to have a more precise, again, like a DEXA scan, which was June. A couple weeks later, I bought a electronic measuring tape. So I can actually keep record of my measurements. I've started taking pictures every single shot. I have a record of my front and side profile. About 3 months in, I think I started taking a back picture at the urging of my weight loss coach. That was part take how to take a front picture, how to take a side picture, and how to take a back picture. I didn't love back pictures. I would also suggest try to wear as form-fitting and similar clothes as possible. That is not something I did, but it again, it's such pictures are a great data point. You will wish you had the pictures, especially those pictures from the beginning. That is a great way. When I mentioned zoom out on like the scale weight or the body fat percentage, want to zoom out when you do your pictures. Like week to week, you may not notice a difference. Month to month, maybe you don't notice a difference. It's you start to notice a difference at 2, 3, 6 plus, 9 plus. It's been over 12 months that I've been doing this. I love to see those side by sides, especially the profile or the up close face pictures. You can see the difference. That is measurable progress. People say, "Oh, I've got a jawline." Yeah, because that is measurable. You're like, "Oh, that's the jawline." Someone might be like, "Oh, I don't worried about my skin sagging here or my jowls sagging here." Yeah, they have Botox for that. If whatever is really bad, their surgery. Not personally a fan, but there are options for, I would say, the side effects of weight loss, specifically rapid weight loss or later in life. I'm in my 50s. So Botox and I have now met. We are friends. The keeping track, whether you want to keep track on a piece of paper, whether you want to keep track on an app, keeping those data points, being able to zoom out and see that progress visually, the side by sides, the scale, weights down, instead of zoomed in when you think you're in a stall. The clothes, clothes, keep at least one piece of when you were at your heaviest weight, and that's measurable progress. People like to take that picture where they stand in one leg at their really big jeans. I have not gotten to that point yet. I do have one where I'm holding up the jeans and they fall off because they're too big. Size 20s. I'm currently wearing a size 12. I wore size 10s earlier this week. I took the video where the size 20s came off and I'm still comfortably in a 14. There's a big difference between a size 20 and size 14. I don't know what my goal size is. I believe I got a 29 in oh, a 29 in True Religions. Everybody remembers those from the early mid-aughts. I also have a pair of 30s in Seven for All Mankind. Those actually fit now. I think those are around the equivalent of a 10. The 29s are probably around the equivalent of an 8. Maybe I get to a 28 or a 27 that would be closer to a 6. I don't know. In high school, when I was 160, so about 30 pounds smaller than I am now, I was in what was considered like a 13, 15, which is, I think, closer to an 8, 10, but a little straighter. So I did go and try my prom dress on. It fits in front, but not through the back. It's fitted. People are used to like wedding clothes or formal wear is very fitted. So it's definitely a true fit sort of thing, and there's no stretch to it. I am not at high school size yet. I think I'm in really good shape compared to coming out of high school. So, like college years, I'm in better shape than I was then. I'm not soft. Um, but we're not quite there, and I may never be there. I'm probably have more muscle than I had in high school in my upper bodies or my arms. So I'm not trying to be high school size anymore. It was just kind of curiosity as far as like general proportionate size. So we'll see what happens there. But I will compositionally be different than I was in high school. I'm not trying to be a teenager again. But is an interesting comparison data point as far as progress. Like, I know my body was that size once. Can we get back to, like, in range? Maybe we're shaped differently, but get compositionally close to when we were the most fit. Obviously, as we grow and mature, we change shape, and that's totally okay. So again, aspiration and direction and being specific about where you're going. I've taken these measurements and I have a goal body fat. The data and being specific about wanting to be healthy, wanting to be strong, and wanting to achieve a lean versus body fat percentage, reduce my internal visceral fat. I had to learn that these were my goals. I actually didn't. I just wanted to lose weight. I wanted to be less fat. That's all I knew when I started, and it's okay if you're not there yet, and you can evolve. I didn't have a goal weight when I started either. I just wanted to be less than 200 pounds because I knew it was not healthy, the size and weight that I was. So it's okay to not know exactly what your goals are. You can make progress and know what direction you're going. I was trying to become less obese and then I learned more about what it would mean to be healthy, how I could mark progress to that, and how I could set goals to achieve. So that's really to expand beyond the scale and to understand the scale, but what was a data point, not necessarily the destination. The destination was health, healthy appearance, a healthy ability, healthy way to live. That was the goal. That sounded crazy, and I'm like, "Whatever, I just wanna be smaller." That's okay to start there. You just have to evolve and understand how to use the data, how to understand that the weight is just a data point, and it's okay to say you want to lose weight, but it doesn't necessarily mean the weight is the goal. The weight will be achieving a certain weight may be part of the goal, and that's okay too. And I will probably have in the back of my mind that I must need to be at a healthy normal BMI. I don't know if I'll be able to get past that, to be honest, and I think that's okay. I feel like both things can be true. I can want to be healthy compositionally and really want to be considered normal. I think that's totally okay to acknowledge and to say that that's not necessarily the be all end all, that the scale is not the goal, but still want to achieve that measurement as part of a representation of the fact that I want to be healthy and that I want to look good and look like I'm at my healthiest possible self. So there's that. So, kind of going back to comparison and how to measure, I think it's important to iterate on your goals, to reassess if you started with just a goal weight and you want to reassess based on where you are in the progress in your journey, or once you learn more about your composition, I want to change my goals or reassess them or understand how it feels when you're at a particular, like, say, incremental goal. It's okay, and I would encourage people to iterate. Like I said, I did. I didn't set my original goal weight until it was about 3 or 4 months in, and I didn't even understand the concept of setting a body composition, or I was afraid, to be honest, to set a goal size. I think my goal size is probably a 6'8". I don't know. It sounds right now. I may adjust it again when I figure out what it feels like to be in these sizes as we continue on the journey. I have about 45 pounds left directionally to go. And my last body fat percentage was right around 40%. Hopefully we're under 40% when we get our updated DEXA. But I definitely want to be under 30% body fat, but we'll iterate as we go and see how the progress is. So I mentioned zooming out and how do you see these things? Again, you can write it on a piece of paper. You can track it in an app. You can put it in a spreadsheet. Some people love spreadsheets. I work in finance. Everybody has a spreadsheet for everything. So I would say track it. Track whatever you're measuring. track the data, keep the pictures in your camera roll. Just you can keep a notes app if you're not big into spreadsheets. You can keep a notes that says weight log. You can keep a notes that say, like they keep track of your measurements. You can say in June I was this size, in July I was that size. Do whatever you can to track things. And you can always use something like ChatGPT or some AI to like give it the data, and it will represent and be able to do that zoom out, zoom in. So you can either go high tech with AI, or you can just plot it out on a table, on a graph, in a spreadsheet. All measurements, keep it simple, keep it high tech. Some folks don't like spreadsheets, so you could just take pictures of the Notes app or load the Notes app into your ChatGPT and say, analyze my data. You don't need to be a data analyst. You can let the AI do that. Highly recommend. One of the things that I think is really important, again, I've mentioned I have a weight loss coach, but maybe you don't have someone to talk to. Maybe you just see your doctor once a year or every 6 months or every quarter or every month, even if you have someone that will see you and monitor your medication, which I highly recommend. I check in with my doctor about every 2 months. For medication, I check in with a dietitian quarterly. I could check in every couple of weeks, quite frankly, but I check in with my weight loss coach, who's a nutritionist, and she guides my exercise plan. Check in with her every week. She's my most consistent check in. My doctor and my dietitian are less iterative, but I think it's really important to check in with my doctor and talk about that. I just had a chat with her this morning, Dr. Don Diego with Vineyard. She is great. We had a great chat, talked about how 5 milligrams is doing great, but have check ins with yourself. So, again, your specialists, your healthcare providers, 100%. But, we talk tracking your progress, check in with yourself. You don't have to do it daily. I like doing it daily because I like understanding all the data, but check in with yourself, whether it's weekly, whether it's monthly. Take a zoom out look, take a critical look in. If you've been telling yourself, I'm stalled, or if you're telling yourself, I'm doing great, and then you see the data and it doesn't line up, just check in with yourself. Do you feel good? Are your clothes fitting better? How do you feel about your weight? Do you want other data? Do you not like how fast or slow things are moving? Do you not like the wrinkles setting in from losing weight in your face? Do you not like the extra skin? Like, just check in with yourself. Do you feel good? Do you feel hungry? Do you feel snacky? Those are cues that you probably want to check in with your doctor if the medication isn't working or if something seems off. You check in with your doctor, check in with your dietitian, check in with whoever is providing care on this journey. But check in with yourself, because if you're like, where am I going? Do I need to reset my goals? Do I need to add a measurement? Oh, maybe I should get a DEXA scan. It's just really good to check in with yourself, to have an honest, look at how you're doing, and to simply, understand that progress is different for everybody. And with that, I would say just remember to not compare yourself to others. The best thing to do from a comparison perspective is to compare to your own. Compare yourself to you. Have have those pictures to take when start your journey. Take a picture. Compare yourself to that. Compare your progress month over month, week over week, quarter over quarter. You don't need to compare yourself to me. You don't need to compare yourself to someone on the internet that used AI to represent their weight loss change, their size change. You don't need to compare yourself to someone who looks the same as you, has been doing it the same as you, and their progress is different. Let's say they've lost the same amount of weight, but they look way better than you do. Now, can you learn from others' experience? 100%. I love learning. I mentioned I will do an episode where I talk about some of my favorite social media folks that I follow and that I find inspirational. So inspiration is great, but don't was it comparison is the thief of joy? And if you compare yourself and saying, "Why am I not losing weight as fast as them? Why do I not look as good? Why is my stomach not as flat? Why do I have so much more loose skin?" Everybody is so different. Their variables are different. Their genetics are different. Their age is different. Their height is different. Like, nothing anybody does is exactly the same, and we all react differently. We know about, like, the medication or weight loss that you can only lose an average of so much fat, like 0.5 to 2 pounds a week. Can people lose more weight? Sure. Will if it's more than 2 pounds, is the likelihood some of it's water or something other than fat? Also true. You can't really monitor that stuff on a daily or weekly basis, again, to really know what the weight is composed of that you're losing, you'd have to get a DEXA scan. So, trying to compare yourself to others doesn't make sense, and the averages of, like, when you're on the medication, people lose between, what, 15 to 21%? I'm way past 21%. I'm in the mid-20s since I started the medication and a little higher, and I think over 30% to date, but attributed to when I started the medication, it's a little less. I might flash the percentages here of exactly where I am. So I'm exceeded the average. Yay, me. But that doesn't mean you will. I see other people pretty consistently that have lost faster than I have. I see people that are losing slower than I am. We are not better or worse. We are just different. I am just thrilled because for me, I've never lost this weight. So I'm compared to myself. I've never looked this good. Yay. So again, I'm thrilled. If I was to compare myself to someone who is down at a size 2 now, I I'd be bummed. Like, why am I not a size 2? I mean, to be honest, I don't imagine myself will ever be a size 2 unless it's like a Walmart size 2, like a not real size 2. Probably never I'll never be a what is it? A Levi's size 2 or whatever the equivalent of 24 in True Religions. I'm never gonna be that version of size 2. A Calvin Klein size 2 will never be. Um, so you don't need to compare yourself to others. You don't need to compare yourself to me. It's okay to compare yourself to yourself, I think, just to gauge progress, not to be like, not to be disappointed, not to be like, but it's encouraging to see progress in yourself. And you can be inspired by others, but don't gauge your success based on someone else's success. Gauge your success based on your own progress. That way you'll be happier, it's more realistic, and it's like it's part of that measurement to goal, how that your journey to your goals. And you can reward yourself. I see people that have these cool walls where they put up like these sticky notes and they measure like there are this many losing a pound. I'm going to take a sticky note off. That's great. You're comparing to yourself. You're not comparing to anyone else. You're measuring your own progress and you're rewarding yourself for making progress. So I really encourage anything like that. I think it's great because it's like something measurable. They say SMART goals that you have like measurable, they're time bound. I'm hoping I lose the weight and get to my composition in the next year. Ideally by fall, probably more realistic by next spring. I will probably still be evolving. I know that when I research everything settling and getting compositionally exactly where I want and minimizing loose skin and maximizing lean tissue, it's probably closer to the year and a half mark. But I might get to goal weight in the fall, but I might not be to goal composition. And even if you get to whatever that goal is, let's say I achieve all my goals. You know what's after goal? That's living in it. So it's continuing to work out and maintaining lean mass. It's probably doing DEXA scans once a year. It's probably continuing to track, but less religiously, checking in with myself and my diet on a monthly basis. Goal is like the end of the beginning, and then maintenance is the rest of your life. So, I know once I get to goal, there's not going to be a lot more cool comparisons. I can keep comparing myself to before I lost the weight, but it's like you get to the top of the hill and then you're on a plateau. You're on the flats. You're in the flats. There's no more there's no more winning. Winning is just continuing to go straight the right line. It's going to feel weird, but it's definitely something I'm looking forward to. It's gonna feel strange because it feels like you're constantly winning if you're, like, losing weight, and it's gonna be a big shift, but something I think we're all looking forward to. I'm gonna close out with talking about something that I think ties in with the measurements and, the scale not being the goal, and that's what we refer to a lot of times. All these other measurements I'm talking about, people will say non-scale victories, and I mentioned kind of winning. Right? I mean, honestly, maintenance is a massive non-scale victory because it means you're no longer having to achieve a loss, and yet you will not have those markers to visibly it's honestly not changing weight is the goal at that point. So, or staying within a certain range of weight, that's the goal at that point. But the non-scale victories are really fun to measure, and all these other data points I talk about, like body fat, like sizes of clothes, like waist measurements, like being able to fit in the back seat of a car that maybe you couldn't fit in before, or cross your legs on an airplane, those are non-scale victories. They are things that like micro goals that you are experiencing that are very specifically not scale related. Now, they have a scale correlation. When the scale goes down, often you also get these non-scale victories, but sometimes the scale isn't doing anything. You're carrying a lot of water. You are, for whatever reason, it's not moving, but your jean size goes down. Your your waist measurement is smaller. You fit it, go from a size extra large to a medium. That's real change, and that is progress. It is moving forward. And calling something like a non-scale victory, it's huge. I have a little non-scale victory highlight because every time you do something like I said, like being able to cross your legs on an airplane or in the front of the car, getting into a size you've literally never worn before, being able to, fit in a booth at your favorite restaurant when maybe you had to just sit on a chair at tables, you couldn't ever go into that booth. Those are real life victories. They're not even just non-scale victories. That those are the goals. Non-scale victories are the goals. The weight is just a measurement. So, anyway, I hope this helped. I hope like I'm here on the journey with everybody else. I'm hoping to just stay sane, keep at it, being able to get to the finish line, which is the end of the beginning, and keep going and coast through the rest of my hopefully healthy life from there. So, thank you so much for joining me. I am back every Saturday on YouTube and Sundays on Spotify and Apple, 9 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. We will continue talking about all the things. I will be doing a DEXA scan in a couple weeks, so I will do a review of that probably in about 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. I am going to Vegas this weekend. I don't know when I'm gonna shoot the next show. Maybe we will do another vlog style bit from Vegas. And anyway, have a great week and weekend. Remember, food noise be gone. Have a great weekend. Thanks so much for being here.